All right, let's get right into it. There's this huge shift happening in the tech world, and it's opening up a whole new way to build a career. And honestly, it's probably not what you'd expect. I mean, who doesn't want a high paying tech job, right? The industry is just exploding with cool opportunities, innovation, and yeah, some really, really good salaries. But the big question has always been, how do you actually get your foot in the door? For decades, the answer seemed pretty straightforward. Go to college for 4 years, get that computer science degree, and start sending out resumes. Well, that's the exact assumption we're going to challenge today. Because the tech world is moving so fast, way faster than most traditional schools can keep up with. And here's a perfect example of why things are changing. Just look at this number, 700,000. That is the number of cybersecurity jobs just sitting there, completely unfilled in the US alone. And that's just one little slice of the tech pie. We're not talking about a small gap here. This is a massive canyon. So this leads us to what you could call the tech talent paradox. On one hand, you've got companies practically begging for skilled people. But on the other, you have millions of incredibly talented folks who feel like they can't even get in the door. So what gives? What's causing this huge disconnect? Let's break down the core problems. First, there's that skills gap everyone talks about. But it's not just that there aren't enough people. It's that the tech is changing so fast that college courses just can't keep up. Then, you layer a huge diversity problem on top of that. Only 27% of tech workers are women, and just 8% are Black and 8% are Hispanic. That's not good. A huge piece of this puzzle is that the old school path, that 4-year degree, is just a massive roadblock for so many people. It's too expensive, it takes too long, and you often walk out with a mountain of debt. So, if that old path is full of potholes and roadblocks, what's the alternative? Well, that's where apprenticeships come into the picture. Now, the idea itself isn't new, but applying it to tech, that's a total game changer, all built around this super simple, super powerful idea. You earn while you learn. And this comparison just lays it all out, crystal clear. The traditional college route, you pay a ton of money, you're stuck in a classroom for 4+ years learning mostly theory, and then you just hope you land a job. But with a modern apprenticeship, the entire script gets flipped. It costs you $0. In fact, they pay you from the very first day. You're working in your new career in about a year, and you're learning by actually doing the job. And just to be super clear, we're not talking about some informal internship where you're just fetching coffee. A registered apprenticeship is a real, official thing. It's a structured program that's been approved by the U.S. Department of Labor. It has to have these 5 core pieces: a paid job, real on-the-job training, some classroom learning to back it up, a mentor to guide you, and this is key, a formal credential when you're done. So you might be thinking, okay, this sounds nice, but is anyone actually doing it? The answer is a resounding yes. According to the Urban Institute, the number of active tech apprentices has exploded. And I mean exploded, by over 2,600% since 2014. That's not a trend, folks. That's a revolution. And this chart really drives that point home. See that first bar? That's the crazy growth in the total number of people in these apprenticeships. But look at the second bar. That's the number of new people starting every single year. See how that curve is even steeper? That tells you this whole movement is picking up speed, fast. All right, so we get it. It's growing like crazy. But how does this whole machine actually work? How do you go from square one to a full-time tech job without going into debt? Let's pop the hood and take a look. So the apprentice journey usually follows a pretty clear path. First, you start with some basic training, kind of a pre-apprenticeship or boot camp to get the fundamentals down. Then you dive into a few months of really intensive, focused learning. After that, boom, you're on the job, full-time, earning a salary and learning from a mentor. And the best part? The destination. More than 90% of people who finish these programs get hired for a permanent job right where they apprenticed. That's an incredible success rate. But wait, who pays for all this training? This might be the single best part of the whole deal. The companies themselves, or sometimes government grants, foot the entire bill. That means you, the apprentice, can start a brand new, high-paying career with absolutely zero debt. Think about that. And this whole thing doesn't just happen by magic. There's a whole ecosystem of players making it work. You've got these organizations called intermediaries, like UPro and Apprenti, who are basically the matchmakers connecting people to companies. You've got education providers, even big names like Google, who create the training programs. And of course, you have the companies themselves. We're talking huge players like Twilio, IBM, and Microsoft, who are bringing in these apprentices and investing in their future. I love this quote from Michelle Sims, the CEO of UPro, because it just sums it all up perfectly. It's a win for employers, a win for the economy, and most importantly, a win for workers who are just desperate for a real chance that isn't based on where they went to school. It's about what you can do. Okay, so let's shift gears and talk about the money, because let's be real, that's what it's all about. These foundational tech skills aren't just a one-way ticket to a single job. No, they're what we call income skills. They give you a whole toolkit to earn a living in a bunch of different ways. Just look at this table. It's like a menu of opportunities. You could go the freelance route, right? Be a virtual assistant, create content with tools like Canva, or maybe you've got an entrepreneurial spark. You could set up a shop on Etsy or Shopify. And of course, there's the more traditional employment path, jobs in IT support, help desk, you name it. The point is, you have choices, real choices. You know, when you step back, this whole movement is bigger than just jobs or tech. It's really about a fundamental change in how we think about education itself. It's challenging that old, rigid way of doing things and saying, hey, maybe there's a better, more practical, more human way to learn. And here's a core principle of this new philosophy. Teach by activity, not by feature. What does that mean? Well, instead of just learning every single button in a software program, you learn how to do something with it. Like, you don't just learn a spreadsheet program, you learn how to create a budget. The learning is tied to a real-world outcome, and that's what makes it actually stick. And this next point builds right on that. The computer is supposed to serve us, not the other way around. Most of the time, our goal isn't just to learn computers. Our goal is to use computers to do something else. Start a business, connect with people, build a career. Technology is the tool, not the final destination. So, if you boil it all down, the new philosophy is pretty simple. Hands-on first, theory later. You learn by doing. Theory is great, but it makes a lot more sense after you've actually built something or solved a real problem. For learning to really work, it's got to be useful right from the get-go. And all of this leads us to one big, kind of provocative question. We're in a world where even giants like Google and IBM are saying they care more about what you can do than what your diploma says. A world where you can get paid to learn and walk away with zero debt. So, is that traditional four-year degree model becoming obsolete? It's definitely something to think about.